Okay, let me get my live screen up. So you guys should be seeing me in just a second. Welcome. Welcome to our virtual patch program, Not Fun. Like I said, we're going to get started in just a minute. We have some people joining us from all over the country, which is super cool. Welcome to everybody from Pennsylvania and elsewhere. Just going to give it 1 second to see if it pops up. Hi, Matilda. Hi, Sophie. Okay, there we go. Everyone can see and hear me okay? Everyone says they're seeing me. Hopefully not echoing. Okay. Well, it is a couple minutes after, so let's go ahead and get started. So today we are doing our Not Fun. And as always, when we do our patch, we're going to do 3 things. We're going to discover, connect, and take action. So first we'll discover. We'll learn the basics of knot tying. So we'll talk a little bit about why knowing knots is a good thing, a good skill to have. We're going to talk about the different kinds of things that knots can be used for, which is more than you might think. And we will learn about the different parts of a rope. We'll learn 6 different knots. Actually 7 if you count the one that we're going to be used to be making a bracelet. And we'll have a little help from a special guest. We have April, who is also who also works for Girl Scouts Western Pennsylvania. She works for our camps. And unfortunately, she's not able to be with me here today. Obviously, we're all in our own homes. But she has put together some pre-recorded videos for us to teach us some knots that I don't know myself and tell us a few fun facts. So I am going to throw up a clip of April introducing herself so you guys can all meet her. So here is April.
Hi friends, my name is April and I am the camp director at Camp Conchataba. I am so excited to join you tonight to demonstrate and talk about some of the adventure knots that we use at our summer camps, and I look forward to seeing you at a camp soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, April. We're so excited to have some recordings that she put together for us. So she'll be jumping in a few times here to help us out as well because she's an expert on all these knots. So after we discover, we learn a little bit about knots and knot tying. We are going to connect. So we're going to complete an art project using knots. So what we'll be doing today is a friendship bracelet. So you'll need 3 strands of either string or yarn, something that you can make a bracelet with. String or yarn works perfectly fine. And then after that, we will be taking action. So we'll be talking a little bit about ways we can use our new skills and the new knots that we learned how to tie. Okay, so like I said, you'll need 1 long string. If you have just yarn or thread, that works too. We're going to be using this to tie our knots. It's definitely easier if you have a little bit of a thicker rope, but if you just have yarn, that works too. And it's easier too if you have one color on one side and white on the other, or just 2 different colors. But any sort of rope, string will work fine. Someone also recommended a jump rope, so if you have a jump rope, that'll work too to tie knots. And then, like I said before, you'll need a couple different strings. So they can be all the same color, or they can be 3 different colors. You'll just need 3 threads of string or yarn to make a bracelet. If you don't have it with you now, that's okay too. You can always go back and make it after. Okay, so like I said, the first thing we're going to do is discover. We're going to learn a little bit about knots. And before we do get started on tying some of our knots, I just want everyone to know that tying knots takes a lot of practice and a lot of patience and a lot of confidence in tying knots. I've been learning a couple new knots over the past couple days, so it definitely took me a while and I had to practice a lot. So if it's not coming to you right away, don't worry, don't get frustrated. We have some websites that we've linked, they should be above me, where you can go and do like step-by-step knot tying and learn all kinds of different knots. So if you don't get it now, no worries. We have plenty of sites that we can link to for you guys to try again once we're done. Okay, so why should you learn knot tying? Well, knot tying is fun, obviously, but it can also be helpful in your everyday life. There are lots of reasons to learn knot tying. There are practical reasons, so to tie your shoes, to secure items, and even a DIY leash for your dog. But no matter what your situation, knot tying is one sure way to be prepared, which we all know is the Girl Scout motto. There are also artistic reasons to know about knot tying. You can make jewelry, which we'll learn how to make a bracelet today, and you can learn and sewing requires a basic understanding of knot tying. Or maybe you want to make macrame, so if you've ever seen, they have macrame like plant holders that are sort of braided so that they hold something and tie to the ceiling. And tying knots can also be beautiful and stylish. And then there's sports reasons. So to sail a boat requires a lot of knot tying know-how. For a rock climber or spelunker, it can mean the difference between life and death. So if you've ever seen a rock climber that's using a rope to climb rocks, that's there to protect them and can save their life. And if it's not done right, then it's not safe for them. And you might want to double knot your shoes before you head out onto the field, onto the course, or onto the mound, depending on which sport you play. So knots are important in many different aspects of our lives. Plus, something you might not know is that knots are good for you. They're good for your brain. Knot tying improves finger dexterity and mental agility. Training your fingers to hold the rope and make the knots is a real workout. And tying knots is like figuring out a puzzle. It's like food for your brain. So if you've ever done any puzzles or online mind games, doing rope tying and tying knots is also good for your brain, just like those games. So I think with that, we'll learn a little bit about the different parts of a knot and a rope and what they're called. And then we'll start on a couple of knots. So there are a couple of different names for different parts of the rope when you're tying a knot. So there's the end. So if you have one rope, there's two ends. A little bit of a glare there. So each of these are ends. And then we have the standing part. So the standing part is the part of the rope that's not the ends. So basically the rest of the rope is the standing part. Then we have a loop. So I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with a loop. Looks just like this. Anything that looks like that is going to be called a loop. And we have a bite. So a bite was something that wasn't familiar to me, and I had to ask April about it. A bite is when you make a U shape in the rope. So when you're tying a knot, a lot of times you start out by making this shape, and that is called a bite. B-I-G-H-T. And then we also, once we start tying our knots, there is a working end and a standing end? Yes, working end and standing end. So the working end is the part that so if you're tying a knot and you're using this end to wrap around here, this would be the working end because that's the part you're working with. And then this would be the standing end because I'm not moving that one. So I have my working end and my standing end. Okay. So our first knot, without further ado, we'll get started on some actual knot tying, which I know is what you guys are all waiting for. Our first knot is the simplest type of knot. It's called an overhand knot. So I'm going to start by making a loop, just like this. I'm going to cross over. Mine's crossed behind. Looks like this. And I'm going to push this over. There we go. And through the loop So just like a knot you would use to tie your shoes. So we'll do that again. I'll show it this way, so that might be a little easier for you guys to see. We're going to make a loop. I'm going to put my working end over top. I'm going to loop it underneath and through the hole and pull it tight. And that is my overhand knot. So let me give you guys a second. If you need some more time, you can always pause the live video and rewind it and go back if you need to take it slowly, step by step. That'll become more useful when we do some of the more difficult knots. So if you need some more time, we're going to be going over each of them for a while. I'll probably play some of the videos a couple times, so feel free to pause, rewind, take it as slowly as you need to. And then also, as always, these videos will be available right after the live is over. They'll be posted on Facebook. So if you don't get it right now, don't worry. You can go back to the video later on Facebook, or you can use one of the sites we'll be linking in the comments and in the description, and you can look up the different knots and do it step by step as well. So let's do that overhand knot one more time. I'm going to make a loop. Make sure the glare is not in the way. I'm just going to wrap it around and through the loop. So just how you would tie your shoes. That's our simplest knot. It's called an overhand knot. So what do you think an overhand knot would be used for now that we've tied it? Does anybody think, have an idea of what that could be used for besides tying your shoes? People saying that was easy. The first one's easy. It gets harder, I promise. If you're wondering why I'm quiet, I'm looking at the comments. Tie your shoes? Yep, absolutely. Tug of war. Yeah, if you tie this, you could use it to tug on each end so that it doesn't come undone, it doesn't slip between your hands. Bracelets? Yeah, definitely. Putting a tag on something? Yep, this packages, it's definitely used for packaging. A stopper knot. That's a great one. We're actually not going over that too much in this, but some knots, you tie the knot and then you want to add a stopper knot included. So we'll do some other knots. One of them is a figure 8 knot. So you'll tie your figure 8 knot, and then with whatever you have remaining, or the slack that's left, you could tie this knot, this overhand knot, and that's called a stopper knot. So if the knot that you originally tied, say the figure 8 knot, came undone, this is a backup for that. So stopper knot is kind of a backup. It stops if the other knot were to come undone, if that makes sense. So that was a really cool, really good answer. Docking a boat. Someone said they use knots a lot with crochet. Yeah, definitely crocheting is all about knots. Bows. Maybe with your hair as well. Okay, so great answers. Some other things that I have on here. It's used to make a knob and a rope, string, or cord. It is used for tying packages, shoes, which we also mentioned, to keep rope ends from fraying, and as a first step in making more complex knots, such as the surgeon's knot and the square knot. So speaking of square knot, that is the next one we're going to be moving on to. And this one is a little more complicated. Technically, it's 2 overhand knots, but I'm going to show you how that works. So I'm going to have to take both ends of my string. So I have one long string. I'm going to use both ends. If you have 2, you can do that as well. I'm going to take 2 different sides, and I'm going to take, let me take this purple one. So I'm right-handed, so I'm using the working end in my right hand because I'm right-handed, but if you're left-handed, you might want to use the working end in your left hand. So I'm going to take, it's flipped on the screen, so it's going to be backwards for you, but I'm going to take this side, I'm going to take the side that's closest to me. I'm going to go behind the other side of the rope, and I'm going to wrap it around so that it makes a U. Looks a little bit like this. So I'm going to keep it like, you guys can keep it like that, but I'm going to do it again for anyone who needs to see it again. Take one side. This is the side that's closest to me. I'm going to wrap it, take it behind the other side, and wrap it around so that it comes up like this, so that it makes that U. Okay, so I'm going to take that same side, the side that was closest to me, I'm going to take it behind again, wrap it around, and pull it through. And that's my square knot. So if you see these two ends should be next to each other and coming out of this. So the same end should be coming out together. Same with the other side. I have both my white on this side and both my purple on this side. And pull it tight. So we'll start from the beginning again, just in case anyone needs to see it again. But like I said, you can always pause it and rewind if you need to. So I'm going to take this one in my right hand, which might be backwards for you. But either way, take this one in my hand. It's going to come closest to me. It's going to go behind the other string. It's going to wrap around that string and go up. I'm going to pull it out a little bit so I have some more slack. I'm going to take that same side, the side that was closest to me, put it behind the other rope again, wrap it around, and pull. So let me know how you guys are getting along with the square knot. That one's definitely a little bit harder. And if you do have it, if you already got it, go ahead and type in the comments what you think that's used for. I have some people asking me to redo it again, so I'll keep doing it. While I'm doing it, feel free to type in the comments what you think that it's used for. Side closest to me, goes behind, goes around, same side, close to me, goes behind, wraps around, and pull. So the two colors should be going the same way. People are saying they got it. Awesome. Good job, you guys. Somebody's saying this is used for boating, climbing, joining two ends of the rope, tying a horse to a fence, climbing. Awesome, guys. I love square knots too. They're very useful. Tying up an ornament. Someone said it's a good way to tie off a necklace. To secure the things it is tied to. Making a bow. Okay, so I'm going to read you the different things that this knot is typically used for. A square knot is composed of two overhand knots turned in opposite ways. So you might have noticed that when we did it, we're doing the same thing. If I didn't complete it, I'm tying an overhand knot. So you can see if I pull it all the way through, it's just an overhand knot that I did. And I'm just doing that twice in opposite directions. So a lot of people, when they do this, they think right over left, pull it through, and then they take left over right, and pull it around again. And again, that might be backwards for you guys because this is flip-flopped. Okay. So it flattens when it's pulled tight, so it's useful in first aid and for tying packages. So I think we had some people mentioned for packages, but it's also typically used for first aid, which I didn't know. Okay, so I think we've got that knot down. Again, if you haven't, feel free to pause, rewind, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our third knot, which is a figure 8 knot. So this, you might have an idea already by the name what it looks like. It looks like a figure 8. So for this, I'm going to point it down so you can see. I'm going to make first a bite, which is just a U, a bend in the rope. So it looks like this. I'm going to take this end, hopefully you can see that, cross it over. So it looks like this. Take that same end, cross it underneath. So I'll do that again before I move on to the next step. Take my working end, cross it over, and then cross it under. So it looks like this. Then I'm going to just take that working end again, put it through the loop I just made, and pull it tight. So then it should look like an 8. You can see that okay. Looks like a little 8. So I'll show that again, in case anyone needs to see it again. I'm going to make a bite. Take the working end, cross it over, cross it under, pull it through the loop, and pull tight. And that is a figure 8 knot. Looks like a little 8. I have some people saying they got it. Awesome. So now that we've done it, any ideas what the figure 8 knot might be used for? And make sure once you finish your figure 8, make sure to keep it, because our next knot, the next knot that we're going to do is called figure 8 follow through. So you start with a figure 8 and then you do the next knot. So keep your figure 8 knot tied for the next knot that we do. Over, around, through. Figure 8. Any ideas? Somebody said boating. Climbing. Yes, definitely climbing. Some more boating. Lots of boating and climbing. Rock climbing. Absolutely, you guys are right. Okay, someone wants me to redo it again. Someone said you can make a bracelet with this knot. Very cool. Teaches me not to give up. Yeah, all these knots do. Because it does take a lot of practice and a lot of patience. The bite. Over. Under. Through the loop. Alright. Anything else? I think everyone's saying that they got it. Awesome. Okay, so some things that this knot is used for. It's used in sailing, fishing, and rock climbing. So you guys were all right. Boating and rock climbing are definitely big ones that this knot is used for. So now that we've got the hang of this figure 8 knot, again, make sure that you've kept it together, because the next knot we're going to do, this is how it starts. So I'll do it one more time in case you untied it. There we go. You, over, under, through the loop. Make an 8. Okay, so keep that knot, keep that figure 8 knot together. So now that we have this done, I'm going to bring April up to show us the figure 8 follow through. So she's going to show us that, but she's also going to show us how to dress a knot. So when I say dress a knot, anybody know what that means, to dress a knot? Any ideas on how to dress a knot before I bring April up? I'll do this figure 8 knot again while I'm waiting for some responses. People said to put clothes on it. Not exactly. To clean it up. Yes. Put clothes on it. Not exactly. Put something on it. Some people saying clean it up. That's very close. Add something to make it look pretty. Making it look pretty is definitely right. Improving the performance of it. Yes, absolutely. All of those things are correct. So dressing a knot, kind of how it sounds, is making it look pretty, making it look the right way, because when you do that, it actually makes the knot stronger. So again, we're going to start with our figure 8 knot. I'm going to tie mine real quick. Looks a little bit like this. And I'm going to bring up April, and she's going to show us how to do a figure 8 follow through. When she shows you, I recommend having the piece of the end that's the piece of the rope that's sticking out the end, having that towards your right side, because that will make it easier to tie the next knot. So if it's facing you, it should be more on the right side. But I'm going to bring up April now, and she's going to show you how to do the figure 8 follow through.
So we're going to continue with the figure 8 that Samantha just taught us. So we're going to keep our figure 8 knot. If you untied it, you can retie it real quick. And we're going to practice a figure 8 follow through. So for a figure 8 follow through, we're going to take what we call the working end of our rope, or the side of the rope that we are working with to tie a knot. And all we're going to do is trace this existing figure 8 that you just tied. You're going to pull it nice and tight, and then we're going to go back and dress the knot. So what that means is we want to make sure that there's no overlaps. This makes our knot weaker, and we want to make it as strong of a knot as possible. So you really just go back and you practice intertwining so that everything is nice and easy. And when it's all done, you want to have 10 strands of rope. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's a figure 8 follow through.
Okay, that one was definitely a lot harder, so I'm going to go ahead and play that again, but feel free to pause it and rewind it and take it step by step as you need to. So I will play that again real quick. Here goes April.
So we're going to continue with the figure 8 that Samantha just taught us. So we're going to keep our figure 8 knot. If you untied it, you can retie it real quick. And we're going to practice a figure 8 follow through. So for a figure 8 follow through, we're going to take what we call the working end of our rope, or the side of the rope that we are working with to tie a knot. And all we're going to do is trace this existing figure 8 that you just tied. You're going to pull it nice and tight, and then we're going to go back and dress the knot. So what that means is we want to make sure that there's no overlaps. This makes our knot weaker, and we want to make it as strong of a knot as possible. So you really just go back and you practice intertwining so that everything is nice and easy. And when it's all done, you want to have 10 strands of rope. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's a figure 8 follow through.
All right, so that one was difficult, so I'm going to try to do that one myself as well to show you guys again. Let me point down. Okay, so I have my figure 8 knot. I'm going to try to widen it a little bit so you guys can see a little better. Looks like this. So I'm going to take the opposite end, so my other colored end, and I'm just going to trace through what April had shown us. So I'm going to trace through what I've just done. Let me go through like this. So I've started tracing here. I'm going to go around and give myself some extra slack. Looks like this. I'm going to go underneath these two. So it looks like this so far. I'm going to go around, following this thread right here. I need a little more slack. And then it goes underneath. Pull it tight. It looks like 2/8. I'm going to dress it a little bit. I'm going to make it look nicer, make them fit together, and then it'll be much stronger. How are we doing? That one was a lot tougher, so even if you don't get it right now, that's okay, don't worry. A lot of these websites that we're linking have a step-by-step guide as well. So if you didn't get it now, feel free to practice later. It does take a lot of practice. This one took me a while. Let me see if I can do that one again. And another way to do this knot is that you can just start with 2 together and do a regular figure 8 knot. So the figure 8 knot, we did it before we started. You can do that with these 2 together. But the way that it's used, typically they don't tie it like this. But we'll talk about that in a second. So we can do the figure 8 knot again just with 2 pieces of our rope. Over and under. And pull through. Should give myself a little more slack. But that's another way to do it. This one isn't as pretty. Let's do it how April taught us again. So we're going to make our figure 8. We only need one end for that. Over, around, and through. I'll give myself a little extra slack to do this next part. Looks like this. I'm going to take my other end, which has now become my working end, and I'm going to follow what I just did. So starting with where it goes in at the bottom, loosen this up so I can get that through. So starting here, it goes in through here. Okay. goes around, following this right here. I'm going around, I'm going underneath, again just following this right here. So next it goes around, hold on. See, takes lots of practice. Goes around this way. I need to give myself enough slack. And then it follows it through here. That one's also not very pretty. But again, looks like a double figure 8. Okay. Does anyone know what we might use this knot for? Some ideas. Double figure 8 knot. Figure 8 again. Oh, I did it wrong. It's okay if you can't do it, no worries. We'll have a couple more to do. Took me a lot of practice, and you can tell I'm still having some trouble. Someone said this is used for caving and climbing. Yep. Rock climbing. Yep, you got it. You guys got it right on the first one. Boating. A dog toy. Yeah, I think I have seen dog toys that look quite like that. Sailing and climbing. A dog toy. You guys could make a dog toy out of this. That's a great idea. To hold something. Yep, if we're doing rock climbing, we're holding a person. Somebody's saying no, but I can't do it. That's okay. Practice makes perfect. It takes some time. It took me definitely a while to get this. So, one of the main things that this knot is used for is climbing. Because this knot, as you pull on it, it just gets tighter and tighter. So when we're climbing, it would be much longer than this, but they start with the figure 8, just like we did, and then we take the end that doesn't have the knot in it. Let me see if I can move this down a little bit. Okay. So we take the other end. Let me stand up. If we're climbing, this end would be up top, and this end would loop through the belt of the climber. And then it would come up, and we would do our double figure 8 here. So they start with figure 8, they loop this through the climber, and then they go ahead and do the figure 8 follow through. So I'll do that real quick. Hopefully show you guys maybe a little bit better this time. And make it a little bit bigger so I can fit it through. Start where my rope ends. Goes underneath here. Goes around. Through here. Goes under. And then it goes through. It just follows that pattern. And then I have my double figure 8 knot here, and both of these would be on the pulley, and this would be tied around me, so that no matter how hard I pull, the harder I pull on this end that's tied up, the tighter and more secure I'm going to be. And that's exactly the knot we use on our courses at camp. that's the double figure 8 knot. So I know a lot of people were saying climbing. So this knot, definitely used in climbing. It's used to tie climbers into the rope, and we use it on our ropes course. So if you go to Camp Contra Tava, I believe they're getting a new ropes course, and they'll be using this knot to tie you into the course. Very cool. Okay, so now that we've got the hang of this double figure 8 knot, or we're going to practice on our own later. Oh, somebody said tree work. Yep, if you're any sort of like challenge course, they would use this knot to tie people up. Okay, so now that we've done that one, we're going to learn another knot from our expert April, and she's going to show us the bowline knot. So I'm going to throw it over to April.
All right, to tie a bowline knot, you're going to need a solid object. I'm using a kettlebell. You can use the leg of your table, a water bottle, anything that you can get a rope around. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one end of your rope, you're going to loop it around that object. You're going to create a loop in your rope with your standing end, and then just let the standing end kind of hang down. You're going to take your working end of the rope, you're going to loop it through and then underneath. You're then going to take this working end still, you're going to go over these two rope lines and under this loop. Pull it nice and tight, and there you have a bowline knot.
Awesome, thanks April. And that one also is a little more difficult, so I'm going to show that to you one more time. Again, feel free to pause and rewind as you need. Again, this is called the bowline knot.
All right, to tie a bowline knot, you're going to need a solid object. I'm using a kettlebell. You can use the leg of your table, a water bottle, anything that you can get a rope around. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one end of your rope, you're going to loop it around that object. You're going to create a loop in your rope with your standing end, and then just let the standing end kind of hang down. You're going to take your working end of the rope, you're going to loop it through and then underneath. You're then going to take this working end still, you're going to go over these two rope lines and under this loop. Pull it nice and tight, and there you have a bowline knot.
Okay, how did we do, and what do we think that knot is used for? We're getting closer to 7:30, so if you don't get this right now, feel free to, as soon as this is over, it'll be posted, and you can go back and try again. Any ideas what this one might be used for? I'll play it again while I'm waiting for you guys to answer.
All right, to tie a bowline knot, you're going to need a solid object. I'm using a kettlebell. You can use the leg of your table, a water bottle, anything that you can get a rope around. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one end of your rope, you're going to loop it around that object. You're going to create a loop in your rope with your standing end, and then just let the standing end kind of hang down. You're going to take your working end of the rope, you're going to loop it through and then underneath. You're then going to take this working end still, you're going to go over these two rope lines and under this loop. Pull it nice and tight, and there you have a bowline knot.
Okay, I see some people are saying this is used for boating again, used for climbing. Yeah, lots of knots are used in boating and climbing, definitely. A lasso. Some other ideas? Okay, so this knot is used to tie something around a post. For example, tying up horses, tying up a canoe, or for tree climbing, because you can wrap this knot around the tree. You saying tying wood together? Yep, it's used to tie anything to a post. So we do have one more knot, so let's get to that real quick. And this one is called the Alpine Butterfly knot. So I'm going to throw it over to April one more time.
So to create an Alpine Butterfly knot, all we're going to do is grab the middle of our rope. We're going to lay it flat on our palm. This is called creating a turn in the rope. We're going to loop it around our hand twice, creating a 2 round turn. We're going to take this outside, we're going to cross it over, take the outside, cross it over. Now all you're going to do is take this outside loop that you've created, pull it under these 2 existing ropes, and pull. Once you do this, you're going to take your 2 ends, pull, you'll hear that kind of click, and that is your Alpine Butterfly.
Okay, that one was also pretty difficult. I didn't get it myself, so let's play it one more time.
So to create an Alpine Butterfly knot, all we're going to do is grab the middle of our rope. We're going to lay it flat on our palm. This is called creating a turn in the rope. We're going to loop it around our hand twice, creating a 2 round turn. We're going to take this outside, we're going to cross it over, take the outside, cross it over. Now all you're going to do is take this outside loop that you've created, pull it under these 2 existing ropes, and pull. Once you do this, you're going to take your 2 ends, pull, you'll hear that kind of click, and that is your Alpine Butterfly.
Okay, I'm going to be honest, I didn't get it that time either. So this one is definitely a lot more difficult, but I'm going to play it one more time. And while it's playing, if you guys could type in some things that you think this knot is used for.
So to create an Alpine Butterfly knot, all we're going to do is grab the middle of our rope. We're going to lay it flat on our palm. This is called creating a turn in the rope. We're going to loop it around our hand twice, creating a 2 round turn. We're going to take this outside, we're going to cross it over, take the outside, cross it over. Now all you're going to do is take this outside loop that you've created, pull it under these 2 existing ropes, and pull. Once you do this, you're going to take your 2 ends, pull, you'll hear that kind of click, and that is your Alpine Butterfly.
Welcome back. I see a lot of people saying this is for climbing, hiking, some people saying for horses. Again, I still didn't get it, so that's okay. If you didn't get it, don't be frustrated. Don't worry about it. It takes lots of practice. Feel free to practice on your own when we're done here. As long as you're trying, that's what really matters. Someone said you can pull in either direction on the rope. That is such a great answer because this particular knot, this one is used when you have 3 climbers. So when you have 3 different climbers, there is a lead, a middle, and a sweep. And this knot is used for the middle climber because it can be pulled because it has the 2 ends. It can be pulled by the front climber and the last climber on either end. And it can be pulled in either direction. At camp, it's actually used for putting equipment up and down on the challenge course. So a little fun fact about camp that April shared with me. So that is what that knot is used for. Again, it's called the Alpine Butterfly knot. So I know that is definitely frustrating. Honestly, with all of you, I wasn't able to get it yet either. So I'm going to practice that when we're done. But we still have our bracelet to make because you can make art using knots as well. So for our bracelet, it's super simple. I need 3 different strings. I have a couple different colors. I have red, white, and blue because I'm very patriotic. We're all in this together. So I'm using a red, a white, and a blue pieces of thread. But if you have 1 color, that's fine too. If you have 2 colors, that works just as well. So I'm going to take my 1 piece. And I am going to, you can put it underneath something. Let's see, make sure you guys can see here. But I'm actually going to take a piece of tape and put my white one in the middle. I'm going to put my red one on this side. I'm going to put my blue one on the other side. Pinch those all together. And I'm actually going to do an overhand knot. So the easiest knot, the one that we did first. Make a loop. Pulling through so that they all stay together. So I've made an overhand knot. I'm going to take a piece of tape and I'm going to tape that down. But you don't have to use tape if you can just set it underneath something so it doesn't move. That works too. I'm going to make sure you guys can see me here. Okay, so to make this bracelet, we are going to be using the half hitch knot. They can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. It's either half hitch or hitch knot. So we're going to take one side. We have one string in the middle and one on either side. We're going to take one side. We're going to make a 4. We're going to put it underneath. And we're going to pull it tight. So we're going to do the same thing with the other side. We're going to make, well, this one's a backwards 4 for me, but just like a triangle, we're going to put it over top of the middle, a little bit underneath, and pull it tight. We're going to keep doing that on either side. So I'm just putting it over top, putting it underneath, pulling it tight. Putting it over top, putting it underneath, pulling it tight. Keep going a couple more times. And you can do this as much as you want until you have the size bracelet that you like. Keep doing that hitch knot. Underneath, pull it tight. I'm going to keep switching back and forth, but you don't have to if you want to make it like a long piece of one color and then another color. Just do a bunch on one side and then a bunch on the other side. I'm going to put that over the middle string, put it underneath, and pull it tight. And just keep switching back and forth. Does anybody have any questions on that one? And again, you're still, even if you didn't get the knots quite right, you're still earning the badge. It's all about trying and learning something new. So don't worry if you didn't get it. I'm just making a couple more of those hitch knots. And you can keep doing that over and over until you have the length you need. But since we're about out of time here, I'm going to show you what it looks like so far. It kind of looks like a zipper. It goes back and forth between the two colors. And if you keep doing that all the way down, and then just tie a knot at the end, you can make a cute little bracelet. Okay, so we went over all different kinds of knots. We learned lots of different knots. And then we did an art project using knots. Feel free to finish on your own time. And for our step 3, we learned about how these knots can be used. So can anyone type in the comments? We talked a lot about different things that we could use knots for. Do you have any more that you can think of that we didn't go over? And I'll continue to work on my bracelet while you guys type those in. And I know we're at 7:30, so if you have to go, you've earned the badge. But if you want to stay a little bit and talk about some other uses you know of for 4 knots that we didn't go over. And we also have upcoming, our next virtual patch program will be again on Tuesday at 6:30. We're doing Keep Calm. I'm a Girl Scout. We're going to be making some calming crafts, some stress-relieving crafts. And then next Thursday, so a week from today, we will be doing sewing. So that's what we have coming up next, and then we'll have some through the rest of the month as well that we're still getting up and running. But those are the next two. So tune in on Tuesday at 6:30 for stress relief, and it's called, the badge itself is called Keep Calm. I'm a Girl Scout. And then Thursday is the sewing patch. And that will not be with me, that will be with my friend Tia, who also works for Girl Scouts. She'll be leading those, and I will be in the comments to answer questions. So I'll still be here, don't worry, but Tia will be leading you guys. I see some people are saying carrying, leading, pulling, boating, all good uses for knots. You're welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, and we have in the link above, we have where you can request the knot tying badge and how you can get it. It's $1.25 from our shop. So it should be above me in the description. It'll give you a link to the form where you can purchase that. Currently, we're not open. We close at 5, so that's where you can get the patch. All right, it looks like everyone's hopping off. So thank you so much for joining me for another virtual patch program. I will see you guys in a couple weeks. We have some other people. We'll have Tia doing next week, and we have some people from our outdoor team. So you saw some videos from April tonight. She'll be leading live for us, and we will have Steph, another one of our camp directors, will be leading some lives for us, some more outdoorsy things. So get excited for that. Make sure to tune in for those. We'll be keeping the schedule for now Tuesday, Thursdays at 6:30. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, always feel free to reach out to us, customer care at GSWPA.org, or our phone number, which is 1-800-248-3355. And thank you guys again for all coming together. I know it's been a difficult time for a lot of people, so it's nice to get together and just have some fun and learn some new skills. So have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.